Hello, my babies. It's Mother Love coming to you live and in living color. Well, I look like a burst of sunshine, I would think. Maybe subdued sunshine. I hope you all are doing very well. Um, Today we're going to talk about, and as soon as she comes in, we're going to talk about and talk with Denise Wilhite Thomas, who is fighting foreclosures in Los Angeles. This is, I mean, when you think about how hard things are now, people are robbing Peter to pay Paul, trying to keep food on the table for their children and themselves, just to keep a roof over their heads. And don't have little kids and they need to be in daycare. That is just it takes you off it just goes off the rails when that happens. I mean, child care is so critical, especially with so many single parents in the workforce. We want to try to be everything to everybody, but we can't. We don't know what we're getting lost in the sauce, and it's just getting crazy. Every single day is just getting crazier and crazier. Gas prices go up. I mean, I never would have thought I would have watched the price of gasoline. And we got our own oil. I'm gonna tell you, we have our own oil. We're using up everybody else's in the world. So when everybody else's goes, when everybody else's goes, okay, wait a minute. I don't know what happened. Hello. I'm looking at the board, but I don't see where to click. But it doesn't come up where to click her in at. I, no, wait. I'm listening. Okay, all right. Wait. I got that. Oh, everybody hold on. I'm getting instructions. They left me in here by myself again. Okay, go ahead. Isn't this fun though? You get to watch it in live in action. Okay. I'm looking at myself talking on the screen, talking to you on. Okay, okay. I think this is it. Okay, have her click in. I got it. Okay. Okay. Oh, never mind. She's there. All right, we got it. I got it. Let me in and see you. Bye. Oh my goodness. I tell you, some folk need to stay in their lane. And that was all out of my lane. And you had me back in your lane. Ladies and gentlemen, the very beautiful, the talented, and just a woman workhorse. This lovely lady is Denise Wilhite Thomas. Did I pronounce it right? Wilhite?
Wilhite Thomas.
Welcome to the program. Because I was telling you.
Thank you for having me.
Crazy. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine.
About how crazy the world is, and people are robbing Peter to pay Paul. They're trying to have to make a decision. Do I pay for my child's daycare, or do I pay my house note, or do I take my kid to the doctor, or do I get gas for the car so I can keep going back to work? And the child care is killing people. And I have never seen so many homeless people in this country and in the state of California. It's something when you take your kids and your grandkids down to see just how bad it can get. And you said, okay, Denise, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go out here and fight for the people. So let's talk about you fighting for the people. A native Los Angelean as well. A native Los Angelean. Tell us about you growing up.
Crenshaw High.
A native, yes, you are. Tell us about yourself growing up in California, in Los Angeles.
Growing up in Los Angeles was a lot different. I grew up right off of Victoria, near Adams and Crenshaw. That's where I grew up. Went to Victoria Elementary School. It was a lot different. You might see a wino or two. And that was it.
And they were polite too, weren't they? One of the winos polite.
Like, did you do that homework? What do you guys do? Fuss at you like they were your parents. And we were able to go around the neighborhood and do what we needed to do and be encouraged by homeowners and parents and people alike in the school, hospitals, whatever. This is totally different. I moved to Northern California, I believe, when my son was about 10.
Mm-hmm.
We moved up to Oakland, California.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I moved to Danville, where I raised my family. I moved because the gang violence had gotten so bad. And having a male child, there is no way I could compete. And his
Mm-mm.
father was not in the house.
Mm.
So we moved. And I think that saved his life. He's about to be a pilot for Alaskan Airlines. I know. I am so proud. I'm so proud. And
I'm
that's
proud I
what
haven't even met him yet.
let's be proud together. We have
Yeah.
to uplift each other. When I came back uh, to LA about 2 years ago, I moved in with my sister,
Mm-hmm.
doing some work. I worked for Karen Bass to be elected.
Mm-hmm.
For
Another big ups.
Isn't that great? Worked with Malia Cohen so she could be the first Black controller of the state of California. So I've been working, I haven't been sitting on my thumbs. But what I have noticed is the increase of the homeless population and what Karen inherited. It's unbelievable. I cannot help but think this is by design.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
How do you get so many homeless? So many people lose their house if this is not by design? So I'm here to talk about. I'm fed up. I'm fed up with the foreclosures. I'm fed up with the illegal foreclosures. I'm fed up with people losing their homes. I'm fed up with the gentrification of neighborhoods. I'm fed up with it all. So I come to talk to give to part a little wisdom.
mm-hmm.
Take it if you want. But
We need
I've been
all
in
the
this
help we can
game
get,
for a
Mr.
long
Lee.
time.
We need
Hmm.
all the help we can get. However, we need to get this information out. We can do that as a collective. And the fact that, I mean, when you think about, you left Los Angeles because it got real crazy. I came out here in 1989, and I didn't even understand about the gangs and the violence, and I didn't understand any of that. I see a bunch of boys hanging on the street, and they all got on white t-shirts and real crease tight blue jeans, and I'm like, shouldn't you be in school? What you sitting out here for? And I could never understand them tainting their own neighborhood, tagging them with paint, and with doing all this other kind of crazy stuff. And like you said, you had to get your son out, because when they see, and somebody will influence them. Somebody will go, yeah, you can have that, you can get that, but come over here and do this. Not get an education. Well, not get a scholastic education. They'll get a street education. And when you see that, and you said you just got fed up. So you got sick and tired of being sick and tired, and said it's time to go out here and do. And you knew you could do something. What got you into the real estate business? I mean, did you just wake up one day and say, "Girl, I think I'm gonna be a real estate agent. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna sell property."
No. I woke up. My first job was on Wilshire Boulevard at California Federal Savings and Loan. I don't know if you remember that or not, but I worked as a mortgage servicer, a loan servicer. And believe it or not, Mother Love, at that time, I walked on Wilshire Boulevard. You walked across the street because it was a big building, big banking building, where they fed you free lunch every morning. I mean, every afternoon you had free lunch. So it was a different atmosphere. Then I moved down the street, because that time on Wilshire Boulevard, you can go up and down and get jobs. I moved down the street to Sutro and Company, Sutro and Company, which was another investment mortgage banking firm. And they had me in bankruptcies. So at that time, nobody was paying their bankruptcy payments. They were just living for free. And so they had me start, call, and collect on the bank. Hey, didn't you file bankruptcy? You owe some payments. This was prompted by Fannie Mae, because Fannie Mae wasn't getting their money, which is an organization that securities backs loans for us to borrow. So I did that. And then I was transferred to San Francisco, worked for Home State Savings and Loan as an REO manager. And
Now,
that
tell
was
us what was your job? What did that job entail?
real estate owned. So every property that the bank foreclosed on, it was my job to try and manage it and then resell it. When the bank forecloses on the property, they hold it.
Mm-hmm.
Not only hold it physically, they hold it monetarily. You can't borrow money. So let's say, for instance, you have two loans you foreclosed on for $200,000.
Mm-hmm.
So until you get rid of those properties, you're prohibited from borrowing 400,000.
Well, that just sounds bass backwards to me, you know? And a lot of it, and especially in our community, and this is a shame to say, a lot of people in our community are terrified of paperwork. You know, what all the documents you have to sign to get a house. Oftentimes, they don't know what a lot of the terminology means, you know, and a lot of them, and I've seen this happen, where they'll just double talk, and I was like, wait a minute, you got to slow down. It's bad enough that I can't understand myself. I really can't understand you. And I'm very leery of men that can talk really fast like women can. That to me is like, why you need all them words? And then you come along and you realize that so many people really don't understand the paperwork and you know what it takes to get into there. And then once they do, you know, and a lot of people have been messed up from with what are with these monetary predators that prey on people with bad credit, that prey on
Well,
people
all
that
that. That's why it's
job.
best to know before you buy a house what you're doing. You can always read up on buying a house, get an informed mortgage broker that can say this is what's happening, this is the type of loans. There's so many, so it can't be overwhelming. But look at what you want, okay, and you know what you can afford before you walk in that office. You know what you've been paying, you know the savings that you have. But let's push past that. You've gotten your house now and you've had it for a number of years and you've got a good job. And then they give you a pink slip and they say, don't come back. You lost your job.
Thank you for playing
The
goodbye.
Goodbye. The first thing goes through your mind is, oh my God, how am I going to pay for this house? How am I going to pay for all my expenses? But primarily a homeowner always thinks about paying for his house first. Then comes the food and everything else. So when you have an interruption in your income, that's the time to ask for help. That's the time to say, look, call your mortgage company because they get money to help you. Don't be fooled. They get money to help you and they are supposed to help you. It's just not the mortgage company and your lender and your servicer. It's the investors backing them behind them. So every time you make a payment, it goes into 5 different places. It goes to the investor, it goes to your taxes, goes to this, that, and the other. And the servicer keeps amount of money for servicing your loan, which means I call you, I tell you your taxes are due, I tell you this, that, and the other. So there's money there. And then we have government agencies. We have HUD. We have these agencies that you call and you say, help me. We got NACA. I'm missing my payments. I want to keep my house. That is their job and their duty to make sure that you keep your house. Now, your duty is as a homeowner is to keep the paperwork, to communicate with the bank. Don't be afraid to call them. Just because they put it there doesn't make it right. When you read, that's when you discover mistakes. Most of my rescissions, which we'll get to that a little later, of rescinding foreclosures have been because of a written mistake.
On the part of the lender or the servicer?
On the part of the lender. So they're taking your house. I mean, even to the point where I have stopped a foreclosure and renegotiated when I was actually talking to the borrower. He says, hold on, Denise. They're pasting something on the door. I said, it's probably a foreclosure notice. He said, you're right. I said, take a picture of it before you take it off the door. So he took a picture and he sent it to me. So I said, they are foreclosing on you on the 15th, right? California law says you can't foreclose no sooner than 20 days of that notice.
And a lot of people don't know that.
They don't. They're not looking at. They put it up there. It must be right. They gonna take my house. It must be right. No, it's not right. Look at the notices. Count the days. Get acquainted with the law. So if they post it on the 1st and say they're taking your house on the 15th, you can't do it. California says you gotta wait 20 days.
At least 20 days.
And at least 20 days. On the I guess we're going backwards. On the notice of default, when they give you a notice of default, they say, we're going to foreclose on you. You owe X amount of dollars and you got to pay it by this time, which is usually 3 to 4 months, or we're foreclosing on you. Mm-hmm. When you get that notice of default, you make sure that you have that 30-day notice of intent. They just can't file a notice of default on you. They got to send a 30-day letters. This is what we're intending to do. And this is why. And that letter has to be clear, clarity, that you owe X amount of dollars. If you don't pay it by X amount of day, we're going to file a notice of default. So we have all these stop gaps. So don't be afraid to open up your mail. Don't be afraid to look at what's going on, because the lenders and servicers do have laws, regulations that they cannot violate. And the first one who really stepped in was our Vice President, Kamala Harris. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She came up with the HBOR, the Homeowners Bill of Rights, because the foreclosures were over the top. They were just taking people's house. Oh, I feel like today is Sunday. I'm going to take your house. I feel like I don't like you. I'm going to take your house. Oh, you called and you talked back to us. So I'm going to show you I'm going to show you my power and take your house. It was horrible. It was so bad that they even were taking law enforcement's house, which I have that on my website, taking police officers' house, taking the FBI. They didn't care. They were large and in charge. And what I did was I put a face with the foreclosure. I brought in Wells Fargo. I brought in Chase. I brought in Bank of America to sit down with these police officers and give them modifications on the spot. This is who you're harming. And they did. So,
people get so frightened of it, or like I said, or they don't understand it. And to know that there's somebody there, and there's a lot of somebody's there to help you feel that stopgap. Because people, they just don't want it, and they always think if you got this higher job than I do, you're a banker, you're a lender, you must know better than me. So I'm just going to go take what I can carry and put my kids in foster care, and I'll figure something out. How are you going to figure something out? At this late in the game,
on the other side of the door. No, you stay inside that door. And fight.
We have to fight. And you say, when you're fighting foreclosure, what made you go from, being the servicer of these home loans and then decided, because it's almost like you went to the other side. I
went to the other side. I also failed to mention I was an underwriter, a senior underwriter. So I approved the loans for you to get your house. Mm-hmm. Underwriters are in the background, really not, but I did that. And I was a regional underwriter, which meant I oversaw a whole region of underwriters and approved their loans. Being and seeing what I saw, and then having the influx of foreclosures, I knew it wasn't right. I couldn't take it. I do have a conscience. I do believe in God Almighty.
Whoa! Stop the train. Whoa!
Yeah.
We got this.
I know somebody's going to talk to me.
So many folks don't have so many people feel like I'm just getting this money. I don't care what happens to other people. I just saw a piece on 60 Minutes yesterday about it was this guy who was just a grifter. He was going around ripping people off and doing all kind of skullduggery. Went through the Bernie Madoff school of crazy, and they didn't give him any time. From state to state to state. And we hear about identity theft all the time. And I think that sometimes I'm wondering if they're, one of them is saying, well, let's do this, let's get a bejesus out of them, and then we'll let them know that there's a life lock or whatever it is that can help stop them. When should people see and realize that they're in trouble? Because a lot of times it's like the 14-year-old pregnant girl. Well, they won't know I'm pregnant. I'll just wear bigger clothes, and then 4 5 months later, you hear a baby crying. It's not going away.
No, you know when you're in trouble, and you know when you have stopped making those payments, and you know that you need to ask for help. But let me tell you something. Sometimes it's not that clear cut, and sometimes that's not that easy, because you do have a lot of predators. You have a lot of liars. You have people that swindle you out of your properties, especially the Black and the brown community. If they could almost take Elvis Presley's house, what makes them think you're not going to take yours?
Oh, well, see, and that part.
Only because they fought for that house.
Wait a minute, when you said that you had police officers and FBI agents, they were being,
attorneys.
These people are supposed to help us, but who's going to help them if you take away their home? And you went out, people are flipping out. That's my biggest fear. That is and I'm not a fearful person. So I work my tail off to make sure we got a roof over our head, my husband and I. We only have one son. He got 4 kids, and they see the importance of being, working to be fiscally responsible. And I think, I'm sure you've heard this or you've seen this, where people in our communities, our Black and brown communities, do not talk to their children about fiscal responsibility. Don't teach them about compound interest daily. Don't teach them the importance of getting a bank account. And now I saw a $20 bill the other day, thought I was going to faint. I was like, wait a minute, what? This is because everything is done by a swipe. And when you can't do that, when you can't get that, what are some of the steps, if you could share with us, that can keep, besides making sure they got, when you said their income ends, to stay on track? And if you're on track, get on track. Because people are so scared of asking for help.
That's number one. Ask for help. The second thing is to read your mail. And if you don't understand what they're saying, if they're doing double talk, because they do that too, go and ask the HUD person, can you interpret this? What are they telling me? Mm-hmm. Did I not pass because I had too much equity? Not enough equity? Did I not stand on one leg? Did I not hold the chicken over my head? What did I not do that had me fail? Because they have to tell you why you don't get help. So you ask for mortgage assistance. And as far as the children go, speak to them. Look, son, I'm leaving you a house that is paid for. That means you owe nobody. Mm-hmm. But that does mean that you have to keep up the upkeep and you have to pay the taxes. So when I die and they come knocking on the door, they will, because they have people that peruse the county recorders to see who died. And then they go right to the property. And then they offer, unfortunately, a few pennies, gold chain, a car. Give me
I gotta keep up with you.
I got so much to say.
You said, because they're going to come knocking at your door.
They're going to come and
let them know. Mm-hmm. You got to let them know. That was too funny, though.
You have to let them know you own this house. Son, daughter, this is gold. Keep this. Keep this for family heritage. Keep this so we can have a legacy. Don't sell it. And when we see these people on the TV, which I've worked with some district attorneys against them, we buy your home for cash. We'll give you a thing. It's not true. Not true. What they do is they give you a sales contract, and unless you know what you're doing, you're screwed. They open escrow for $1 on $1 million house. Who opens escrow with $1?
What?
Yeah, they're going to give you $1 million, but they got it all tied up in the paperwork. And then when you realize you're never going to get your $1 million, they said, then take us to court. Then they have enough money to keep you in court, because some of these unscrupulous attorneys are fighting for these, we'll buy your home.
Right.
All that, I'm just saying, take a pause, take caution, read, take it to an attorney, take it to a real estate agent. They don't want us involved because they know that we can read the contract. And
And
the first
understand.
thing we can see, yeah, understand. You're not opening escrow for $1. What you're going to do is tie up this house. And then when the borrower gets all frustrated, you're going to say, take us to court. Can you imagine?
I've seen it happen. I've seen it,
Yeah,
and and they prey on the elderly too.
they do.
They, and if English is not your native tongue, they use that barrier as a way to intimidate you, and it's so unfair. And so many people cannot afford a house. I mean, I here in California, it is just ridiculous. They out here talking about, okay, well, we're gonna pay the service workers $20 an hour. That should keep them happy for a while. Really, really, the majority of those people who are now making $20 an hour have been so far behind in their debt. Buying food with the credit cards, getting gas with a credit card, and that's compounding interest daily. And then they get so overwhelmed. I appreciate you saying what people have to do is stop, take a breath, and call you. Tell us how you got started with fighting foreclosures, because you said you got sick and tired of being sick and tired. Is it worse on your
side? My home got foreclosed on, which is no secret. But yeah, so I was swindled by real estate investors that were behind a company that we thought was a real company. I won't go into too much detail, but at the time, my husband was involved in a lawsuit, and he said, "Well, we can get some quick money." We had probably about $500,000 worth of equity. Never borrowed against the house, and so it was only a small amount. It didn't matter. So I got foreclosed on. I didn't know how. I fought it every stitch of the way, and so I said, "Something's here that I'm not understanding, and I'm not letting them get away with." So I called a special agent at the FBI. I sure did.
Okay.
And he said, "Denise, the fix was in. The fix was in. There was nothing that you could do about it. I don't care how much knowledge you knew or what you could do about it. There was nothing that you could do about it, because they got to the point where they wouldn't accept the money. It was only a small amount of money, but they wouldn't accept the money because the fix was, what they wanted was that equity I had in my house. Shields and Dittmeyer, all them crooks. But I went to the FBI. The FBI arrested it was a whole more than I even thought. You could go online and read what the Justice Department came up with. It was horrible. So that's what I faced. And knowing that what I know, because just think about the average person. But the Justice Department filed against them, all of them. And it was foreclosure bid rigging. It was a RICO Act. They were doing a lot. They were sending money across the United States from these foreclosures. They would go to the sales and say, "Okay, you don't bid on this one. Wait for me, and then I'll bid on it. And then next time you bid on it." This time, just all kind of underhanded things. So I'm like, "Okay, you got the wrong one."
No. Oh, they didn't get that part, because you're supposed to be dumb. You're a black woman. Who do you think you are? We're smarter than you. And you can see it going around in their heads. And I remember when we had our house built from the ground up, we got so many angry conversations from people, and we lived in a gated community. And that's the one thing I told we'll never, ever, ever live in another gated community. You're not going to tell me I'm paying all these, the homeowner association tax fees every month, plus the taxes on the house, plus the house note, and all the stuff that comes with it. And I had said to them, this don't smell right. I think y'all a bunch of crooks. Y'all think I'm stupid, don't you? And they were like, and it's a shame to say that the society still looks at you and I like, you shouldn't be in that position. Why are you in that position and I'm not? How come you know all of this and I don't? Because you do the work. You do the work, and you saw where you would make a difference.
Well, I paid my dues. I've been in the industry for over 25 years.
Oh, see,
I paid my dues and learned. But another thing I want to talk to you about too is, and I don't know too many people that do this, is getting your home back after it's been foreclosed on.
Oh wait,
After it's been
you
foreclosed
can.
on, the
Okay,
sheriff
yeah.
comes and puts a notice on the door and tells you to get out.
Okay, and so then what's the next part? Can you hear me?
So
Yeah.
you kind of, it's buffering.
Oh yeah, I see it.
The bottom line is when you get foreclosed on, hopefully you know that you're getting foreclosed on. So it's imperative that you keep all your paperwork, all your notices, everything that they sent you. Give me a call because I don't know of any other company that does it. I have done probably 60, 70 rescissions of foreclosures. And that's actually foreclosed on, get your house back, make the lender rescind the foreclosure, put it back in your name, and go on about your business.
You see, I don't know if you can see, but I'm
Congress,
over here taking copious notes.
there you go. Congresswoman Judy Chu, one of my congressional awards I received was for the rescissions of foreclosures, especially in the Brown community, because of the language barrier, because they were just getting screwed. There's no other way to say it. And when they contacted me, they were like, Denise, you got to help us. We don't speak English that well. I said, I don't speak Spanish. They said, fine, but you speak the bank's language, don't you? I said, I sure do. Let's have a go at it. And so I was able to get houses back. Just a few examples. One house, they sent a letter and said, we're going to foreclose on you on such and such date if you don't send the paperwork. They foreclosed on her 2 weeks early. Well, you can't do that. Your paperwork said on this date, we're getting the information in, and then you foreclose. That was one of the primary reasons Vice President Kamala Harris put together the HBOR to rein in this. They were doing some of everything. Yeah. So basically, all I do is go by those laws and say, did you follow this when you foreclosed? Did you follow? Nope, you didn't. All right, you got to get a house back. One man, Mr. Christie, up in Northern California, Santa Rosa, he was about 85, almost 90 years old. They foreclosed on him and said that he had missed a payment. Mr. Christie, his whole generation, no, Denise, here it is. I never missed a payment. So then I called Bank of America and I said, Mr. Christie, here's his payment. Oh, well, it's too late now. We foreclosed on and we sold it to a third party. So my thing is, okay, I'll just go public that you're taking old people's houses, even though they paid, if you don't want to give his house back. So I called the person who bought it. I said, you got that foreclosure legally. That man doesn't owe any money. So you need to call Bank of America. Bank of America called the third person and invited, said, look, we'll give you $50,000 if you give the house back. So it was a win-win. He made $50,000 for holding the house for 2 days.
And
Mr. Christie got his house back.
And $50K on top of that.
No,
the banker got.
No. The person who bought it at the foreclosure.
The third person.
Party. He got $50,000.
Oh, because see, and these are things that people really need to understand and be talked about and not be ashamed of, saying, well, I don't have the money. I need some help. I lost my job. Can you tell me, direct me? And most people, will get up and go to work. The majority of us will get up and go. If we got to pick crap with a splinter, we just make sure we got the cleanest craps picking that you can be and do what you need to do to survive. Nobody
wants to be outdoors. Nobody wants to be outdoors. In LA, I don't know what happened with this homeless, but this has got to stop. But I can only deal with one issue at a time. So what I want to do is to prevent the numbers of the homeless from going up. So let's keep people in their houses. Let's have home retention. Karen don't need no more homeless on the street. So we need to keep our homes, keep shelter, because your shelter, your tax dollars, this, pay for schools, pay for municipalities, pay for your police department, your water and your power.
Right.
It pays for your daycare center around the corner. Your tax dollars pay for items in the district that you live in. That's why Congress and Congresswomen, and I hope Maxine joins us soon.
Hey, Auntie Maxine, like she
I
okay.
know, hey, Auntie. I hope she joins us soon because in her district, that's her tax dollars come from her constituents,
Mm-hmm.
people that vote and own homes. So that's why it's so important. I do want to touch on what did I what one of my things was
Well,
uh
we talked about generational wealth. You should,
yes.
and so many people they'll see a fast track check coming in. I don't have to be maintain this house, and then 2 or 3 months later, it's a vicious cycle
Um,
because they don't plan. And then who plans to get fired? I never got fired in my life till I moved to California. I
oh,
just did. They was like, "Oh, we're going in another direction." I'm like, "What direction is that in? Can I go in that direction too?" Or we're moving on. And these were things that I didn't even understand. Oh, but I'm a quick learner.
you're only as good as your last project. You're
That's
only as
that's,
good as your last whatever.
that's why
That's
that's why
that's
I
the
do
one for
that's
you.
why I do this right here because I'm good at this right here, and I don't have
Yeah,
to
you
be
are. You're
concerned about
fantastic.
that happening. And we have so many people, and they bring this up, and I know you know about this. A lot of the homeowners and a lot of people who are homeless, not they calling them unhoused. That does sound better than homeless. The unhoused, and that's what Mayor Bass is doing, wanting to make sure because she walked into a crap show. She came
Mess.
in with the boots on like the firefighters have, like the fishermen have, almost up to here. She's a little tiny lady, right? And she
Well,
said,
yeah, on the party that I gave her, the fundraiser I gave her,
uh,
I asked her questions,
mhm,
and the first question I said is, "What is the first thing you're going to do once you take office?" And she said, "Attack the homeless, get them off the street, get them housed." She said, "That is my priority." I feel like that is something that is pervasive and that has taken over, and it impacts so much of our society. I believe it's by design, but anyway, and
oh,
she did
wait a
what
minute, wait, See, because we know what we know, Denise. And you could tell me all day long that the sky's green. I know it is not, so I know that you're lying. We can discern what the truth is, and we're not afraid to step up and step in. And so many of us, our people that are on the street, are suffering from serious mental health issues, and the fact that they're finally starting to open up and let people know this is not the plague. You need help mentally. You've been this rock been on your back with 10, 15 years, and you still struggling. And we got to understand, and some of them, and I was surprised about this because I figured everybody that was out there homeless, that was their choice. Oftentimes that is not their choice.
no,
It is
no,
not their
not at
choice. They're
all.
strung out on drugs. They have mental health issues. They've been abandoned by their families. It's a gamut of craziness that's going on in these people, and being able to have and train the right kind of people as social workers and have them out there because it was a long time coming that the police departments start putting people on their team who were mental health specialists. So that can be a way when we work together. Because some of them say, I don't want to live in a house. I don't want to have to pay rent. I want to just out here be on the street big. And I thought, this is where we're going with this. This is what
Well,
you
the thing is
think.
to attack the families because if you remember, families held the mentally ill in the household. Families took you to your appointments. Families help you get a little job to earn some money. When you had breakdowns, people had breakdowns, but no one knew. You weren't on the street. You were in your family. Oh, that's Uncle so and so.
Yeah.
He'll be all right. He
Mhm.
just had a break. Now, because the evil component has attacked the families have nowhere to protect you, nowhere for you to go. So everybody's out on the street. So And then, I could go on and on. We can go back to Reagan when he let everybody out the mental hospitals.
Oh,
Never
okay.
recovered from
Oh,
that.
see, I worked in a mental health, in a mental institution. That's what they call them, a mental
Mhm.
institution that was for women. And all the women, and I think they might have had one male custodian, but he came in at night when they were all sleeping and what have you. And
Mhm.
it was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. And a lot of the people that were in there, nobody came to see about them. Nobody came to see how they were doing, how they were being treated, what was going on. And whoever said when the crap hits the fan, it's going everywhere. They had to actually see that. Because when I saw that woman pick up a big pile of crap and throw it in the fan, I was like, okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm done. I wasn't ready for that kind of a commitment. And so, and they
Yeah,
needed
that I
a
just
lot of help.
saw something. Yeah, that was another thing too that contributed to, I feel, was crack cocaine.
Mm.
They brought it in, they dumped it in our neighborhoods. No, the neighborhoods were desolate. Nobody had a job. It was desolate. In order to make money, no young person wanted to really work. They want to sell crack cocaine and make a whole bunch of money. It decimated. It decimated neighborhoods
And filled up the
to the
prison.
point where it was so sad. So our treatment for having crack cocaine was to be put in jail and families broke up. Now, when you do drugs, you go to rehab, and they even have you carrying shots around to counteract the effects. It is
Oh,
a
like the
different
narcos.
world for us, and you'd be lying if you say it wasn't. You're not telling the truth. I say tell the truth and shame the devil.
Tell the truth and shame the devil. Because and we realize that there are a lot of demons and devils around us who don't want to see us
Mhm.
do well and succeed.
That's why
And
we
a
have to
lot of
make
these are
sure we
family
do.
members and friends. And then who you think you are. You think you're better than everybody else. I tell them all the time, why do you think I think I'm better than anybody else? Where do you get that from?
Crab barrel. It's called the crab barrel. So, crabs don't have to worry about getting out the barrel, because guess what? Another crab's going to come and pull them down. We got to stop that kind of mentality. We have to uplift each other, and we have to stop buying this garbage about what we are. We built this country. We built the education institutions. We built it and didn't get paid.
No.
So how are we late?
Well,
How are
so,
we late? How are we trifling?
okay,
When we
please
built the
excuse.
institutions that you are walking on. So we got to stop buying into that. We're beautiful people, black and brown and Chinese and everybody else,
Them
and
all my brothers
everybody,
and sisters.
all our brothers and sisters. And we have to uplift each other, because don't buy in the hype that if you get it, don't worry about them, because next time it'll be coming after you.
See, and that's what's going on right now in this political arena. They're trying to get as much real estate as they can, own as much dirt as they can, so they can stick. I'm trying to figure out where they want to go back, take America back from who? We're all descendants of immigrants. I don't care what the deal is. We are all brothers and sisters. And it takes so much energy to hate somebody, to hate a thing.
Well, it really, really does. But I don't understand. There are a lot of newscasters on CNN, or big ones, that are from Canada. They're immigrants.
Wait a
But you
minute.
never hear about them sending people back to Canada. So if we want to talk about it, let's be fair. But I didn't come to talk about all that. I came to talk about home retention.
That's a whole nother conversation that we
That's a
can
whole
have.
other, yeah. But I came to
So
talk
back
about
to
home retention,
okay. I want
keeping
to
your
ask you
house,
about. Let me ask you this.
stopping gentrification. And you know
Mhm.
how you can stop that? They can't gentrify your neighborhood until they get the house. Keep your house. Don't sell your house.
Don't sell your house.
So keep your house any means necessary. Keep it. Keep
And
your wealth.
one of the things that we don't do as Black people in this country, which I'm just appalled by it, that we don't pool our resources together. just like you said a moment ago. The crab barrel mentality. And see, that's why I thought I didn't come out of crab. I think I came out of big giant lobster, so I could knock them all back down in the barrel and lean over the barrel and start pulling them up. And we are all standing on the elder's shoulders. And they would be rolling over if they rolled over and went the ball away to China, rolling over with all the stupid that we continue to do in society, and mostly to ourselves and our families.
Well, we got it honestly.
We
were conquered and divide from the very beginning. So we got that division honestly. We got that not trusting and go and tell master what's going on. Maybe we can get in the kitchen and get another piece of bread. So that we got it honestly, but it's over now. And we have to realize too, we can do things. And we don't need to have that mentality. And because we are striving and because we are doing well, they're starting to take programs away from us. Mm-hmm. Who takes a book away from a child to read about a history?
Oh, see.
Who kicked affirmative action out of the universities?
And half of them, see, we could be on this conversation for like the next 2-3 hours because there's so much crap going on.
It all intersects. It all intersects.
And off the time, you just need to get it out. You just need, and that's what a lot of people are feeling. Nobody sees me. Nobody hears me. Nobody's going to help me. I don't have a college degree. Nobody's going to help me feed my kids. I've been saying, or my mother and grandmother and the elders before would say, Superman is not coming for you. You want Superman in your neighborhood? You better make one. You want Superwoman, Supergirl, Superboy in it? Make one. Teach them how to do what is right. And these kids are holding on to everything, all the technology, and they don't even understand the importance of becoming homeowners. You talk to some of these young people, like, what I want to own a home for? And I don't need to own are you insane? And I tell them the bitty women.
And that's what I think. Oh, that's what I remember. I want to talk about it popped in my. I want to talk about reverse mortgages. A lot of older people use reverse mortgages as a way not to pay the house note and to live their life. And it could be good if it's used right. Mm-hmm. My advice with reverse mortgages: first, do a will and a trust, because when you go, everybody in their brothers are going to come out. But most importantly, you've got to be able to deal with the lender when your mom or your dad or your grandparents die. Mm-hmm. And they don't have to deal with you unless you show that you are on that trust, and I will deal with the bank. And so with reverse mortgages, they usually give you about 6 months to a year to either refinance, sell the house, or make, like, if I don't know, so reverse mortgages, somebody owes 200, and when they die they owe 400. Mm-hmm. That 400 has to be paid back. So you could either negotiate with the bank to make the payments mm-hmm. in a refinance, or you could sell the house, split it among everybody, or those two things. But with reverse mortgages, whoever does them, please put together a will and a trust. I'm dealing with a family now that didn't have one. And so we're having to fight like hell. There was a law, but they took it off the books, that said that if a parent, husband, or someone died and you did not have a will or a trust, it didn't matter. The bank still have to deal with you. Why they take that law off?
Because it was too much like right. Mm-hmm. It made too much sense. It's going to help too many people. Mm-hmm. And see, there you go, just with that pretty face and coming in, and you telling them how to run things, and you know the difference. You know how to discern that information. As we were talking earlier about people being so afraid to speak up for themselves, to be, and they prey on that. I feel for you. We're going to come and take it like the IRS. People think the IRS is like the governmental mafia or whatever. They're going to take my house. You could talk to the IRS yourself.
Mm-hmm. I've talked to them and said, we don't want your stuff. We just want our money. We don't want your stuff. What are we going to do with your stuff? Those were the old days where they come in and take your pictures off the wall and, just destroy your life. But the IRS, like they're people
first.
and
They
they
understand.
first.
And
They understand.
I was like that when we got audited because we came from Ohio. I was a school bus driver. My husband worked at what is now Costco in one of the big warehouses. We just working people, And we come out here. It took me about 5 years to get over the sticker shock with the price of everything. I was like, good Lord, good Jesus. This is just, remember you could go to the grocery store, they give you $2, you get two packs of cigarettes, a loaf of bread, 2 bottles of soda pop, and you could keep the change.
Exactly.
And so I was always, I go. They don't even do that anymore. We've gotten so used to not fending for each other, fending for ourselves. And that's why it's so important. I'm sure you're familiar with Biddy Mason. She was a woman who was born a slave. Her master kept her, and she walked while they was riding the wagon, come all the way to California.
I just saw that. I wasn't familiar with her, but I watched that whole program. I was so amazed.
Sister Queen Biddy Mason said, baby, I don't care what y'all do about everything else. What you do, you get you some dirt. You go buy you some dirt and make sure you hold on to that. They only gonna make one earth back while you here. Own the dirt. And I don't know if that we don't understand anymore. We just don't see it anymore. Generational wealth. When you hear about African American and Latino millionaires, they're not making that kind of money. How do you know? Why don't you? One of the guys I worked with, I didn't work for them, worked with, he has said, let me tell you something much love about rich people. You know how rich people stay rich? I said, no, sir. With it. He said, we don't squander our money. I'm not going to no place, spending no $700-800 on a pair of shoes. And he died very, very, very wealthy.
And he left his family with something.
Oh yeah, and then okay, great. This the one to get me. It's the one to get me.
Yeah.
You have built this up. Put this foundation down.
Right.
You don't have to. Money is no worry that you have. Your kids go to the best schools, and they, and you're leaving this foundation for them. And you decide you want to be a cocaine freak. Squandered all the money up his nose. All the money.
Are we talking about somebody specific?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, this is a specific guy. He was, matter of fact, it was like it's like 3 of them, and the father, they had their mother, and she had passed on, and when their father died, he left them literally hundreds of millions of dollars, had all kind of equity, owned all kind of property all around the world. They decided they didn't want to do that. That was going to be too much work. So they sold off his properties, and they left no generational wealth for the kids behind them, for their kids and their grandkids. And that's what's sad. Say it again, I'm sorry.
That's called selfish.
Very selfish, very, very selfish, and very, very greedy, and I just don't really understand how you build this foundation. And a lot of us are working to build a foundation so that when we do leave, and that's what we're working on, a legacy, leaving a legacy. When we talk about, just briefly, can you just go back to the part about making sure you have a will and a trust? And
a will and a trust as to include your family members. So at the end, no one's fighting and the state doesn't play big papa and divide up the wealth. I do want to revisit what you said, though. Part of as being Black folks, we're almost demonized. So we put properties together. We had big properties, and they were taken from us.
Or burned to the ground.
My grandfather. So all of it wasn't our fault.
No.
No.
The Oklahoma, they wiped us off the map, wanted to wipe us off the map because they used to call it the Black Wall Street. And they were like, oh, these Negroes can't be prosperous like this. Oh, no, this is going to get out of hand. And we can't level the playing field. They can't be educated, as well educated as we are. And they came and burned it to the ground, killed 300 people, murdered them, slaughtered them, and didn't want the story to be told. I was like, you might not want to be told in a book, But these stories are going to be told. Our ancestors were storytellers, and a lot of them, they would say like what they call post-traumatic stress disorder. They're coming back from World War One, Two, Vietnam War, Korean War, pick a war. We had enough to, and they don't want to talk about it, and that's why we can't keep the communication with us closed off. So now, what is the difference between a will and a what's the other one? A will and a trust? Are they different? Or are they
Well,
different?
I'm not an attorney, so I want to make a disclaimer. I want to make a disclaimer right off the top. I'm not an attorney. What from what I know, my knowledge is a will is designating where you want your properties and things to go when you die.
Mm-hmm.
A trust, that's why they call them living trusts,
Mm-hmm.
can be used while you are alive.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you die, now sometimes they can challenge a will. They can't challenge a trust.
No, why is
so
that?
Pay the extra few dollars to an attorney and get you a trust.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a will they can challenge. No, grandma was drinking when she wrote that will. No, grandpa said, I get the color TV. Okay. And then you start putting evidence in, and then the state has it, and it's a big mess. A trust, airtight. I want these paintings to go here. Mm-hmm. I want the houses to go here. I want the money to go here. And it's exercised while you are living. So you can change it, add codicil to it, whatever you need to do. But a trust, pay the extra dollars. If you have a house, you need a trust.
Yeah. If you got any kind of property,
any kind of property, put together a trust. And that's all I can say. I can't sugarcoat it. I can't make it any better.
Truth. But that is the truth. And people need to hear the truth. And we have to meet them where they are in their financial life, in their health life. And my mother, God rest her soul, she had a living will. She had a living trust. She had all of her final wishes, mapped out, what she wanted done. She made sure, she said, no, nobody's going to be passing a hat from me. I'm like, something. She was very, very astute about what she wanted to have done. And so we were talking about this. This is before she passed away. Just talking, how you talk to your mother and carrying on. And she asked her, did she have a trust? And she said, no. And I said, well, don't you want to get one? She said, let's look into that. She got a will and she got a trust. And she said how she wanted everything divvied up. And it was even. She had 6 of us kids. It was even across the board. And there was you couldn't find it. You couldn't find it. And people
you get nothing. Or you say, Papa, you get nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And so I know it is for us. And we only have one son. We got one son and 4 grandchildren. And he said, oh, mother, you and dad don't need to get a will or a trust. I'm like, well, why would you think that? He's like, because I'm your only child. I'm both of y'all only child. I'm getting everything. I ain't giving up nothing to
no. You got grandkids. You got other relatives. And you're not going to depend on him falling out or being friends with somebody.
I told him. I said, if I had knew that being a grandmother was this good, I'd have skipped over childbirth. Because, he tells me all the time, you just spoiled it.
We all want to.
I'm like, that's what grandparents do. We spoil. And when I would say, bring the children. They come out, stay with me for a few days. I'm like, come get these kids. Come and get these kids. Better come snatch a knot in one of them. I had told one of them no they wanted me to take them to snow. And actually they wanted to go up in the mountains in California. I'm like, sweetie, no, I'm not taking. And he looked at me, he was like, you told me no. No, you. And I was like, no, notified. No, I'm not taking. I'm a winter baby. I didn't want to be in snow. So they went up there, they take their winter clothes up there. I got them all the little stuff that they needed to go up there. I'm like, I'm not going. And you better die on cue back home so I can come there so I can come back home because I can't do the winter time. I cannot do the winter. So what's next up for you? Tell people how they can get in touch with you.
Well, I have a website, and that is www.danvillecounty, Operation Reach, the number one, inc.com. I'll
Thank
repeat
you.
that. www. Operation Reach, number one, or the number one,
Number one.
inc.com. I don't want them to confuse the number, word number, just the number one.
Thank you so much.
I also have a toll-free number, 888-979-4447.
I got it right here with my notepads.
Okay.
It has been my joy and delight to be able to talk to you.